January 23, 1943. Eglin Field. Proving Ground, Florida. The thermometer stubbornly clung to 14 degrees Fahrenheit, an icy anomaly for the Florida Panhandle. Imagine yourself standing there on that wind-bitten range, breath turning to frost, watching Samuel Green study a weapon that had just failed catastrophically for the 17th time in 2 relentless hours. The Browning M2 50 caliber machine gun, the proud backbone of America's aerial firepower, sat motionless on its test fixture, frozen into humiliating silence. Wisps of steam drifted from the barrel like a taunt, a visible reminder that the gun refused to fight whenever the cold tightened its grip. Major Robert Johnson of the Army Air Force Armament Laboratory hurled his clipboard into the crusted sand. "This is impossible, Green. We have 423 B-17s in England right now. 13 guns on each. That's 5,199 weapons that will freeze solid the moment they climb above 20,000 feet. The 8th Air Force is knocking German fighters out of the sky at a 3-to-1 rate. When the guns work, when they jam, our bombers are helpless targets." Beside him stood Samuel Green, 52 years old, a civilian toolmaker from Connecticut who had never served in uniform, never completed high school, never designed a weapon. Yet there he was, gazing at the disabled machine gun with a strange blend of irritation and analytical curiosity. Army ordnance specialists had declared the situation hopeless. Browning's own engineers had exhausted every conventional fix, and still the weapon sat frozen, while young men died in bombers over Germany because their guns refused to fire. Green knelt, retrieved a small, scuffed notebook from his tool bag, and wrote a single-line one that would, though he did not yet know it, upend the world of automatic weapons design. "The problem is not the gun. The problem is we are trying to make the gun work like we think it should work, instead of letting the gun tell us how it wants to work." Major Johnson stared as though Green had begun speaking in riddles. "Green, that makes no sense. The gun is an engineered mechanism. It obeys physical laws. We have test data, specifications, mathematical models." Green calmly pulled out a worn machinist's file. "With respect, Major, your mathematical models did not design this gun. John Browning designed it by feel, and I'm a toolmaker. I understand feel. Give me 1 week and permission to change this weapon in ways that will horrify your engineers, and I will make it so it never jams again. Ever." Neither man could have imagined that this quiet moment in the cold Florida air would ignite one of the most hotly debated modifications in the history of U.S. military firearms. Within 3 months, Green's unlikely insight would turn the 50 caliber Browning from a notoriously temperamental beast into the most dependable machine gun ever fielded. Within 6 months, his work would spare thousands of American airmen from violent death. The mathematics of automatic weapons design were about to be rewritten, not by an academic or a military engineer, but by a civilian toolmaker armed with a file and unshakable conviction. The Browning M2 50 caliber machine gun had been John Moses Browning's final triumph, conceived in 1918 and eventually woven into nearly every thread of American warfare. By 1942, heavy bombers bristled with them, fighters relied on them, ground forces mounted them, naval crews installed them wherever they could. The U.S. military had fully committed to the 50 caliber as its universal heavy machine gun. But combat exposed a chilling flaw. Above 20,000 feet, where temperatures plunged below -30 Fahrenheit, the guns faltered with terrifying regularity. Statistics from November and December 1942 were grim. Out of 213 B-17 missions, crews from 161 of them, an astonishing 76% reported weapons malfunctions. Each bomber carried 13 guns, on average, nearly 5 jammed per aircraft. The human cost followed swiftly. German fighter pilots recognized the pattern almost instantly. In December alone, 14 B-17s were shot down after all their defensive guns froze, sending 140 airmen to their deaths or captivity. The Army Ordnance Department launched an aggressive investigation. The causes seemed to multiply. Lubricants thickened in the Arctic cold. Metal contracted until tolerances choked. Moisture condensed and froze inside the action. From October 1942 to January 1943, engineers tested every orthodox solution: cold weather lubricants, tighter ammo specs, heating elements, increased clearances. Nothing helped. The failure rate clung stubbornly above 60%. $2 million spent, with little to show for it. Samuel Green entered this unfolding crisis almost by accident. At Pratt & Whitney in Hartford, he served as a master toolmaker, a man who spent 37 years crafting precision gauges used by others to build engines. When the company accepted a contract to produce M2 machine guns, their test units revealed the same deadly cold weather malfunctions. Desperate, the plant manager offered a $1,000 reward to anyone who could solve the problem. "Every engineer who has examined this weapon says the design is perfect," he declared. "Therefore, the problem must be external. We cannot modify Browning's design. It is perfect as is." To Green, this pronouncement was alarming. In nearly 4 decades at the bench, he had learned an unshakable truth. No design was perfect. All mechanisms possessed quirks, tiny flaws that only revealed themselves in real use. Mathematical perfection and battlefield reliability were 2 different worlds. That evening, Green took home a malfunctioning prototype. He disassembled it piece by piece, measuring everything. Every component fell within tolerance. Every dimension matched the blueprint. Yet the weapon had failed. As he reassembled it, slowly, feeling, not merely observing, how each part slid into place, he sensed something. The bolt carrier tracked smoothly in its channel, yet under hand pressure, he could detect faint binding at specific points. He studied the channel more closely. Though beautifully machined, it possessed an almost invisible bend less than 2/10,000ths of an inch across 12 inches. Well within acceptable tolerance. But Green suspected that when the cold thickened the lubricant, that nearly imperceptible deviation became enough to halt the mechanism. Late that night, in his basement workshop, Green began a sacrilegious experiment. One that would send military engineers into fits. He took a precision file and shaved down the bolt carrier, narrowing it by 0.003 of an inch. By the gospel of engineering tolerances, he had just ruined the weapon. By Green's instinct, he had freed it, given the bolt the breathing room it needed to glide even when the channel wasn't theoretically perfect. The next morning, the modified gun went into a refrigeration chamber at -30 Fahrenheit for 4 hours before firing. It worked flawlessly. 100 rounds, 200, 500, not a single jam. The range officer stared, first stunned, then alarmed. "You modified a military weapon without authorization. You altered dimensions beyond tolerances. Green, that is illegal." Green replied without raising his voice. "Your specifications create a weapon that jams. My modification creates one that works. Which is more important?" Within hours, Green faced the plant manager and Captain Robert Mitchell of Army Ordnance. Mitchell was livid unauthorized changes could jeopardize lives, but the plant manager urged caution. Better to test than to reject outright. Mitchell agreed to send the weapon to Eglin Field for exhaustive evaluation. It arrived January 18th. Major Johnson greeted it with skepticism and desperation. On January 23rd, in 14-degree cold, he mounted Green's weapon for testing. What followed was astonishing. 2,000 rounds without a single stoppage. Then, 12 hours in a -50 cold chamber. Immediate firing. No jams. sand and dirt deliberately packed into the action. Still it ran. Perfectly. Johnson immediately summoned Green to Florida. On January 26th, Green arrived with his tools, and with a mindset that would collide violently with military engineering doctrine. The meeting included Johnson, 3 engineers from Aberdeen Proving Ground, and 2 representatives from Browning Arms. The air bristled with hostility. Major Johnson laid out the facts. Mr. Green's modified weapon has shown 100% reliability under conditions where standard guns fail 60 to 70% of the time. Mr. Green, explain precisely what you did. Green sketched a simple diagram of the bolt carrier and its channel. I reduced the bolt carrier width by 0.03 of an inch. That clearance allows smooth travel even when the channel isn't perfectly straight, and when cold constricts everything. Standard tolerances assume a perfect channel. Channels are never perfect. More clearance lets the bolt run despite imperfections. An Aberdeen engineer with a doctorate snapped back. Mr. Green, what you describe is mechanically unsound. Tolerances are calculated for optimal cycling. Increasing them degrades performance. Your modification violates fundamental principles of automatic weapons design. Green listened, then delivered a response that stunned the room. Sir, I do not understand your mathematics, but I understand machines. I have worked with them for 37 years. Your calculations say my modification shouldn't work, but it does. Perhaps it is your calculations that are wrong. Chaos erupted. Voices rose. The debate spiraled until Major Johnson cut through it. This argument is pointless. American airmen are dying. Mr. Green has produced a solution. Our task is to learn whether it can be applied to all M2s. I am ordering full testing. And if you're finding this story as gripping as I am while telling it, imagine what's coming next. Don't miss the civilians who reshaped the fate of war. The expanded testing began February 1st. 20 M2s from 3 manufacturers were modified by Green himself. Each endured a gauntlet: standard firing, cold chamber testing at -50, 5,000 round sustained fire, intentional fouling, high-altitude simulation at 30,000 feet. Results were uniform across all 20 guns. Cold weather malfunction rate of only 0.8%. Standard unmodified weapons failed at 68%. Green's modification reduced cold weather failures by a staggering 99%. But applying this change across the entire arsenal posed massive challenges. By February 1943, roughly 96,000 M2s were already in service, with another 60,000 on the production line. Ordnance estimated it would take 18 months and $12 million to modify them all. Imagine standing on a firing range at Eglin Field, the air thick with cordite and expectation. Generals Leslie McNair and Henry Arnold had both demanded that a long-awaited modification be put into action immediately. Yet the Ordnance Department dug in its heels, insisting on more tests, more paperwork, more delay. And then, almost like a character stepping onto the stage at just the right moment. Lieutenant General William Knudsen, the director of war production, arrived in person. What he witnessed would end the bureaucratic stalemate in a single afternoon. After watching the altered weapons operate without a single hitch, Knudsen turned to Samuel Green and asked 2 blunt, almost disarmingly simple questions. Could trained armorers apply this modification quickly to weapons already in service? And could the production lines absorb it without losing precious time? Green answered with the quiet confidence of a man who knows his craft. Yes to both. About 45 minutes per weapon, he explained. Production lines just machined to a different dimension. No new equipment. That was all Knudsen needed. Right there, on the spot, he issued the order. Immediate adoption across every branch of service. Existing weapons would be updated during routine maintenance, and every production line would switch to the new specifications at once. Officially, it became Modification 1. Though, among those who relied on it, the world soon knew it simply as Green's fix. The rollout revealed American industrial muscle at its peak. Within a single week, detailed instructions landed on the desks of every armorer in the country. 2 weeks later, production lines were running with the updated dimensions. After a month, mobile modification teams were visiting air bases throughout the United States and England, and within just 3 months, more than 40,000 weapons had been transformed. By 6 months, all 96,000 existing guns carried Green's modification. The effect on combat was immediate and dramatic. In March 1943, before the fix, the 8th Air Force reported weapons malfunctions on 57% of missions. By April, when only 30% of guns were updated, the failure rate had dropped to 38%. And by June, once nearly all guns had been modified, malfunctions stabilized below 4%. Green's simple adjustment had cut weapons failures by an extraordinary 94%. Even more striking, bomber losses caused by disabled armament plunged. During the first quarter of 1943, 14 B-17s had been confirmed lost following total weapons failure. In the second quarter, after the modification, only 2. Those numbers meant something profound. This civilian toolmaker was directly saving bomber crews' lives. German Luftwaffe pilots noticed the transformation as well. Intelligence gathered from captured airmen revealed new respect and new caution. A June report noted that American gunners were now able to keep up continuous defensive fire throughout attacks. The familiar pattern of U.S. weapons jamming was gone. German pilots recognized that approaching an American bomber had become far more dangerous. Ground forces felt the improvement with equal force. Tank commanders found their vehicle-mounted .50 calibers operating reliably. Heavy weapons platoons reported that their .50s demanded far less maintenance. Across the Pacific, where humidity and saltwater chewed through equipment, U.S. naval crews found themselves experiencing far fewer jams during anti-aircraft engagements. Moments that often meant life or death in the face of kamikaze attacks. One story from November 2, 1943, stands out with cinematic clarity. Captain Robert Johnson of the 56th Fighter Group, flying a modified P-47, was hit by cannon fire. 21 cannon strikes and more than 100 machine gun hits tore into his aircraft, yet his guns never faltered. Army engineers later concluded that without Green's modification, ensuring unwavering reliability, Johnson almost certainly would have died. Instead, he survived, went on fighting, and ultimately became one of America's leading aces with 27 victories. Green's influence extended far beyond the M2. The principle he championed, operational tolerance, became foundational in the design of every post-war automatic weapon. The M60 machine gun, the M16 rifle, and countless other systems embraced clearances tuned not for theoretical perfection, but for real-world reliability. Green's insight became a central tenet of American weapons engineering. In April 1943, Samuel Green received the Medal for Merit, presented by General Arnold himself. The citation praised his extraordinary achievement in weapons development, highlighting how his modification to the Browning M2 had dramatically increased reliability and saved countless American lives. Yet Green felt uneasy with the claim. He attended only because Arnold personally requested it. After offering a short thank you, he quietly returned to his workbench at Pratt & Whitney in Hartford. Colleagues later recalled that he displayed the medal once before, tucking it into a desk drawer, where it stayed until his retirement in 1951. Still, Green kept every letter he received from the servicemen whose lives had been spared by reliable weapons, hundreds of them stored carefully in a wooden box in his basement. One letter, from Staff Sergeant Michael Chen, a waist gunner on a B-17, dated July 1943, read, "Mr. Green, Our plane was attacked by 6 German fighters last week. All 13 guns fired perfectly. We shot down 2 fighters and damaged 3 more. Before your modification, at least half our guns would have jammed. We would probably be dead now. Because of you, we came home. Thank you for giving us guns we can trust. Before we move on to the astonishing conclusion, let me ask you something. If this journey through history has pulled you in, why not hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications? Your support lets us keep unearthing stories like this. Stories that deserve to be remembered. Post-war military analyses revealed a harsh truth. The Ordnance Department had burned through more than 2 million in 5 months, chasing conventional fixes that led nowhere. Meanwhile, Green had solved the problem in 1 week with nothing more than simple tools and deep understanding. A 1946 War Department study estimated that the delay had cost the United States 64 bomber aircraft and 640 airmen, not counting ground casualties. Its conclusion was blunt. The military must create systems to evaluate unconventional ideas from unexpected sources. Green continued his work at Pratt & Whitney until retiring in 1956. During those 13 years after the war, he solved numerous manufacturing problems and trained generations of young toolmakers. He rarely mentioned his medal for merit. When he did, he shrugged it off. I fixed a gun that wasn't working right. That was my job. Toolmakers fix things. Samuel Green passed away in 1971 at the age of 80. His obituary was modest, almost austere. It mentioned his career and his medal for merit, but omitted the astonishing legacy of his modification, that it had been incorporated into more than 500,000 M2 machine guns, that it had shaped every American automatic weapon developed since. In truth, Green would have preferred it that way. The M2 50 caliber machine gun remains in frontline service to this day. As of 2024, it is used by the United States and more than 100 allied nations. Modern M2s still rely on clearances derived directly from Green's original alteration. The weapon has been in continuous production since 1921, the longest-serving machine gun in American military history, and its legendary reliability flows straight from the hands of a civilian toolmaker in Connecticut. Total M2 production now exceeds 3 million weapons. Roughly 2.1 million of those embody Green's modification. Generations of American service members benefited from the insight of a man who believed machines speak to those willing to listen. From World War II through Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and the conflicts of today, soldiers have depended on 50 calibers that function flawlessly because Samuel Green once filed a bolt carrier in his basement workshop. His method became standard practice for military armorers. The procedure he refined is now taught in every U.S. military armorer school. His emphasis on functional testing over strict dimensional measurement evolved into formal maintenance doctrine, and the larger lesson openness to unconventional solutions echoes throughout modern military thinking. The Army initially resisted Green's idea because he was an uncredentialed civilian who dared to challenge the specifications. It took senior leadership to break through that barrier. Looking back, General Knudsen wrote in his memoir that the military must develop ways to recognize innovation wherever it appears. Smart ideas come from unexpected places, he wrote. Our job is recognizing them, not filtering them by credential. In 1988, the Smithsonian opened an exhibit showcasing civilian contributions to World War II military technology. Samuel Green stood at the heart of it. His original tools, his notebook, the first modified bolt carrier, even his medal for merit donated by his family, were on display beside letters from grateful servicemen. Over 3 million visitors saw the exhibit, granting Green the recognition he had never sought, but long deserved. Modern weapons development programs intentionally embrace the kind of unconventional thinking that Green exemplified. DARPA actively courts ideas from non-traditional innovators. The Army Research Laboratory encourages civilian engineers to tackle military problems. The Ordnance School teaches Green's fix as a masterclass in simple, successful innovation, born far outside traditional channels. Within the weapons community, Green lives on through living traditions. Instructors invoke Green's rule when teaching modification: measure twice, file once, test thoroughly. The annual Green Award honors those who achieve significant improvements through practical, elegant solutions. Any fair assessment must acknowledge both the brilliance of Green's achievement and the failures that made it necessary. He solved a deadly problem, one that was costing American lives, and he did so with clarity, pragmatism, and speed. Yet his solution became essential only because institutional thinking had grown rigid. Specifications were treated as sacred, unconventional ideas dismissed, and uncredentialed innovators ignored. Only when that mindset was broken did the crisis end. Even today, when a .50 caliber gun fires without hesitation in Arctic cold, blistering desert heat, or jungle humidity, its reliability traces directly to Samuel Green's modification. Special Forces operators, depending on their weapons in extreme conditions, are relying on principles Green established 8 decades ago. The man who never finished high school reshaped the most widely used heavy machine gun in military history. Green died quietly, lived modestly, and achieved immortality not through headlines or rank, but by making one gun work better. His story reminds us that the greatest innovations often spring from unexpected places, that practical wisdom can surpass theoretical knowledge, and that solving the problem matters more than defending the rulebook. The math has always been simple. Standard M2s suffered a 68% malfunction rate in cold conditions. Green-modified weapons? Just 0.8%. The difference can be measured in the thousands of service members who came home safely, the thousands of families unchanged by tragedy, the thousands of lives saved because one civilian toolmaker trusted his instincts and a file. In the Smithsonian, today hangs a single M2 machine gun serial number, 43-27891. This was a Green-modified weapon that served with the 8th Air Force and fired more than 80,000 rounds in combat without a single jam. Its placard lists its combat history, but omits the name of the Connecticut toolmaker who made that record possible. But armorers remember. Veterans remember. Anyone who ever relied on a .50 caliber machine gun that worked carries Samuel Green's legacy forward. The civilian who taught America's .50 cal how never to jam also taught lessons that stretch far beyond weapons. Sometimes the best solution defies conventional wisdom. Sometimes true expertise comes without credentials. And sometimes fixing what is broken matters infinitely more than defending what is supposedly perfect. In the end, Samuel Green's impossible trick wasn't impossible at all. It was one man using skill, intuition, and a file to transform the most enduring heavy machine gun in history, making it reliable under any condition, saving thousands of lives, and claiming an unspoken place among the unsung heroes who won World War II.